Welcome everyone to the You Can't Handle the Truth Sports podcast. It's Rubbish here, and with me is the voice of reason, the Pistol. G'day, mate. A lot's happened in the last 5 days.
It has. Got to see what we thought was going to be a pretty good game turned out to be one-sided.
It was garbage. It was very, very surprising with the way that it all turned out. Although, given my day, I'm surprised I can remember it. But look, I guess we'll start off there, hey, with the Super Bowl. Look, it was an absolute beatdown. I think it was evident early. I said to the crew that I was rolling with on the day, the first throw that Mahomes threw was this dart that went about 6 or 7 yards and it went straight to the receiver and he caught it. And I went, wow, okay, Mahomes is on. That was about the only thing that went right for him all day.
Yep.
They were terrible. And I guess, and congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles from my perspective. I thought, we said this on the pod last week, like we thought the Chiefs would win, but it wasn't as straight, I didn't think it was as clear cut as what it seemed. And we were right in that assessment because the Eagles came out and the amount of defence that they put, defensive pressure on Paddy Mahomes, is ridiculous.
I've never seen him so rattled and just wanting to leave that pocket so early.
Yeah.
Like he was just rattled and wanted to run away and like I granted he had all his targets downfield were quickly rounded up, so he had nowhere to go. But like Vic Fangio put a good system together.
Yeah. Look, just on that, I happened to say this when we were talking about it on the day. I said the last time I've seen Mahomes play like this was against Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Where he was running for his life all day that day as well. Credit to Vic Fangio, who, he was coach at the Broncos. He was terrible at the Broncos, and he's been sort of a bit of a vagabond nomad, defensive gun for hire across the league since. But he has always had a very good defensive system, and I think the fact that the defence showed up as well as what they did, it really does. I guess it complemented. That was, I think, the complementary factor that I was querying with the Eagles in that game, because I didn't really have a lot of confidence in Jalen Hurts throwing the big throws, and he was the one who threw the big throws in the end. He was the. I think he got MVP in the end, didn't he? So he was the MVP. He did his job. But he's still not at the level of Mahomes, right? So I really felt like that something else had to, the rest of the team had to step up, in the instance that Kansas City were able to put the sort of defensive pressure on that the Eagles were able to on Mahomes. It was a blowout. 22-40, I think it was, or 43 or something like that. That really, I don't think that score does it justice.
The Chiefs. It flattered the Chiefs. But Cooper DeJean, he was unreal.
He was. I tell you what, he was amazing. He was a rookie, right? He looked. He was. I tell you what, that guy he'll never buy another beer in Philly. That guy, with the pick.
There was a stat where they moved him into the nickel position throughout the year, and the difference in the scores the opposition were putting on when he moved into that nickel position is they cut it in half.
Yeah.
It was like halfway through the season they moved him there. Maybe before that, but he's just been awesome.
Yeah.
For a rookie to do that.
No, credit to the young lad. He was amazing. I think Saquon Barkley was actually stopped. I think
Yeah,
Chiefs did a pretty good
it's
job.
probably the only thing the Chiefs did right.
Yeah, they stopped him pretty well, right? So, it was just the way that the defence, the pressure. Mahomes, as you said, he couldn't stay in the pocket. He had to get out. He was running for his life. He didn't have anyone to throw to. I'll tell you one thing this game really showed to me is that the Chiefs, I think that was probably their worst lineup to make a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We've got Kelsey there who's falling apart. I expect he'd probably retire now.
Yeah.
Although I think he's a very proud sort of a guy. So it wouldn't surprise me if he said, "No, look, I can't leave on that. We'll have one more crack at it." But I think the way his body's been, battered and bruised, I think he, and he's considering retirement. He said that. We'll see with him. But, Xavier Worthy took a couple of touchdowns, passes, but that was late.
Yeah.
I mean, garbage time.
157 yards he received for.
Yeah, so look, he's a rookie as well, so he's got, I think, a really bright future. But aside from that, DeAndre Hopkins is finished.
Yeah, Juju,
Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown was injured all year, to be fair.
Yeah.
He's a guy who I think, and I don't think he's particularly old. I think he's on a 4-year contract, so he'll be back next year. But I tell you what, the offensive line really let themselves down in that game.
Yeah.
The Chiefs, and they're going to have to address that, because as much as a magician that Mahomes is, if you're under pressure like that against a good side, then you're just not going to be able to be effective enough to win, a Super Bowl like that. So they're going to have to, I think, upgrade some players, some positional players there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of those lists where I think they're going to need to re-inject and get some changes in there, because, as you say, they didn't have a lot of options there. It's probably their worst side. They didn't have a run game. Mahomes ran for the most yards at 25. They couldn't get any receivers. The run game was non-existent. They just got absolutely hammered all over the park. Even when you look at Kelsey, if he goes, your backup's Noah Gray. He's pretty ordinary. I don't know what tight ends are on the market at the moment.
The thing is that there's no one like Travis Kelsey.
Nah. You want that. There's sort of a gap between Kelsey and below average, and I think that's where Noah Gray is.
Yeah.
And I think you need to get that next step up. So I think they'll be looking, I don't know, potentially, if it's not in the draft, they'll be looking to get someone in.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I were Kansas City, I'd be calling the LA Rams and saying, look, hey, we want to trade for Cooper Kupp. I know he's got some injury concerns. He's always injured, that guy. But when he's playing, he is a machine. And, you don't get the Triple Crown without, having the level of talent that he has. So I would be going for him. And then they may have to go down the path of drafting a new tight end. I know Gray was drafted as the sort of incumbent to, not the incumbent, as the replacement for Kelsey once he moves on. But they're going to have to do something there, unless of course Kelsey decides to run it back one last time.
I'm just looking at the free agents that potentially are available, and not putting these in any particular order, but Conklin, Juwan Johnson, Harrison Bryant, Farrah Brown, Austin Hooper, Zach Ertz. There's no one there standing out. Zach Ertz does a bit of a job. He's serviceable, but
I like Zach Ertz. But he's old now.
He's been in the league for 12 years, and I mean, he'd be cheap, but
maybe.
Do you really want to go from an old guy in Kelsey to Ertz? He's done a job for Washington for the last season, so
maybe Zach Ertz might be the guy, but Yeah, I don't know. I tend to think that they're gonna go to the draft on that one, maybe again.
Yeah, I
Um,
think they really need the wide receiver
yeah,
spot.
yeah.
Like even Diggs, he's back as a free agent.
Is
T.
he?
Higgins, Ken Allen.
Is Diggs a free agent?
Yeah, according to what I'm looking at.
Oh,
Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Brandon Cooks, Jonte Johnson.
yeah.
Hopkins is back as a free
I
agent.
tell
Mike Williams.
Yeah, I tell you what, I wouldn't be touching Deontay Johnson with a 10-foot pole. That guy,
Yeah.
he, he, after chucking the salt and being a diva at Philly, then moves to Carolina. They didn't want a bar of him in the end. Then he
Yeah.
went to Houston, and then they went, nah, mate, you can't be like that. So they got rid of him. That guy's got attitude problems, it seems.
Yeah, where is he now? Baltimore.
Yeah, yeah. So, I I'd be staying away from him. But anyway, like there's options out there. I think
Yeah.
they need some veteran presence in there. The problem is they've got to find someone of a good degree of quality. Now, last week I came back and I was saying, look, the thing about Mahomes is that he makes players better around him. And if what I said was true, then they should be able to take a guy or two guys like that and plug them in and play well. So look,
Yeah.
we'll see with that. We're talking a lot more about Kansas City and what they need to do right and what they did wrong in that. But I think that's probably a bit of a disservice to Philly because whilst the Chiefs had a mare. And I reckon the Bills would have put up a much better performance than what
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
did. The fact is that, the Eagles they put up. There wasn't a lot of talk coming out of that camp actually in the week before. Like they did their media commitments and stuff, but they didn't really. There wasn't. It was like they were silent but deadly.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, good on it. AJ Brown was amazing. Saquon Barkley, I don't know why. I think I'm always going to have questions on that guy. Saquon Barkley. I mean, Jalen Hurts. I'm always going to have
Yeah.
queries on that guy for some reason.
Yep.
I don't know why. It's a bit like Lamar. I just
Yeah. Yep.
the running quarterbacks that are run first that don't seem to have the arm. I don't know. I kind of feel like you need to be a pass first QB, I think, to be, a truly great QB. I think that's my problem, which is why
Yep.
I'm such a big Patty Mahomes fan.
Yep.
So I just reckon, Jalen Hurts was amazing. He stood up, got the pass rush going on the defensive side. Then Saquon Barkley, who was quiet but still did what he needed to do. I think he got like 80 yards or something. He didn't get a touchdown, which drove me nuts because I had like 15 bets that were all reliant on him getting
Yeah.
a TD.
I hear you.
Yeah. But look, and congrats to the Eagles. I think we can move into next year and be open on. Okay, look, the Chiefs no longer have a mortgage on that Super Bowl. Let's see who else can step up. Or maybe the Chiefs run it back. We'll see.
Yep.
So just, I guess, sticking to the NFL for a little bit, there's been some recent news on a guy who I highly, highly, highly rate. I hope the Broncos are in the position of trying to get this guy out of Cleveland, Myles Garrett.
Yeah, right.
So he's basically walked out on the Browns because they have screwed up the Deshaun Watson thing so badly where they don't have any draft picks. Their salary cap is, they've got a strange salary cap because of all the money that they're giving this guy who just retore his Achilles in the off-season again. Not to mention the fact that he's been hot garbage, not to mention the fact that he's still getting women come out against him for his misconducts, or alleged misconducts, I should say.
Yeah. Is it alleged when you hit 20?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, let's face it, and he's paid out.
It kind of has to be until he's nailed, but yeah.
He's paid out like 19 or 20 of the women, and then one I think is still around, and then there's been a couple since late last year. So, they're in a position now where Garrett is like, well, if you're not going to contend, I'm not going to hang around. And I don't blame the guy. I feel for Cleveland fans because he is their best player. And the fact is I don't think he wants to leave Cleveland because he doesn't like Cleveland or because he doesn't like the team. He just wants success. And the ownership and the general manager have put them in a bind by committing to this guy, Deshaun Watson. So Garrett is out, and I think that guy is the best defensive player in the league.
Yeah.
And I would hope that the Denver Broncos are in the Myles Garrett business, but kind of.
What picks of the Broncos got to send the other way?
So I think we're still strained a little bit because of the Russell Wilson debacle from a couple of years ago. But with all the players we traded out last year, and with the dead cap hit that we took this year, there's
should have a little bit of capital there.
I think we've got some capital. Let's not forget that Myles Garrett is a free agent, and is he a free agent? I think he's he's still yeah.
They have to trade for him.
No, he's still he's still contracted. So yeah, you're gonna have to find a deal. But he's also 29, 28, 29.
Yeah, 29. Yeah.
So I guess if you look at historical trades, I've got it here. So they're comparing. I know they're different players, but Tyreek Hill. He was traded from the Chiefs to the Dolphins. There was a first rounder, a second rounder, and a fourth rounder in 2022, the year, and then in 2023 there was a fourth and sixth. I think that's that's a heavy package. That's a lot to give, but I think the Broncos would be able to afford that. But there'll be other teams who, I'm sure have probably better than us. DeAndre.
The current bookies' favourite is actually Detroit.
Oh, really? Okay.
So can you imagine him pairing up with Hutchinson?
Well, yeah. I mean, that would be disruptive, to say the least. Look, it's funny. I don't know, which one you're looking at, but ESPN are saying that the three teams that they think are probably the most likely are Chicago Bears, Indianapolis Colts, and the one I really like is Washington Commanders. That's who ESPN are saying, but it'll be. I bet you it'll be a team that we don't see, but it will have to be a team. So if Myles Garrett is just committed to winning, which I believe he is, then Detroit would be that team. Who?
Well, they're really not far away.
No.
I mean, either's Washington based on their year this year, so they had a couple more pieces, which the one I'm looking at now is they're linking Deebo Samuel to the Commanders at the moment.
Yeah. So Deebo, yeah. I don't know. They've got decent running game though, right? So maybe Deebo.
Oh, but he plays more he's played as the running back this year in patches. I think because McCaffrey's been out, so he was that gap filler, but he's primarily the wide receiver.
Yeah, look, he's a good player. He's a great player. But
the 49ers, they've already given out the contracts to Ayuk, Jennings, and that Ricky Pearsall. So
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so between Garrett, Miles Garrett and Debo, they're probably the two big ones. I don't know what your Patriots are going to do. I'm suspecting they're going to go to the draft.
Yeah, they got two areas they really need to fix up. So, ideally, Garrett would be a perfect help on the defense, but we're not going to be in a chance for him because he wants to win. We need someone for the O line, and we'll need a couple of people for the O line, to be honest. And we need players or receivers for bloody May to throw to. So we got a bit of work to do, and it's not just going to happen in this off season. So it's going to be a couple of year thing at least.
Yeah.
But we have the biggest cap space, so if there's any free agents out there, we can pay them. So, I mean, I know Cooper Kupp's 32. I know he's linked to the Broncos pretty heavily, and he's probably going to be linked to the Chiefs pretty heavily as well. But, I mean, he's a proven receiver that can catch the ball. So if we wanted, my preference would be to go to younger guys that can develop with May. But, yeah, we'll see where that lands.
Yeah.
I think we've got 130 million cap space.
Yeah, I really didn't know that he was 32, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh. All right. Then if I'm him, I'm going to the Chiefs. If I'm him.
I'm going to if I'm 32, I'm going to a side that has a shot.
Yeah. I just don't think that the Broncos are in that space. I know we made it, but we were the worst team in the playoffs. We'll see. There's a few. Yeah, you're right. There's a few interesting. I'm really quite interested. There's a few players and a few teams that I'm pretty interested in. Not from a support perspective, but just interested to see what they're going to do. And one of them is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both of their quarterbacks, I think, are garbage, and both of them are free agents. One of them's going to stay, I suspect. Justin Fields.
Well, you would have to, yeah.
I think it'll be Justin Fields because you got Russell Wilson being linked through to the Raiders with
you look at their end of season. I think he was the preference from Tomlin in those games.
Yeah. Well, Russell Wilson played the playoff game. So I think
I think he started and then he got to a point where Tomlin just went, "Nah, you're out."
Yeah, because they'd already lost. So I don't know. Fields. Geez, a lot of people love Justin Fields, and I don't know why. Yeah.
I think he had that one good year, and they're all banking on. Well, they're all remembering that.
But what good year? I still don't reckon any year he had.
Good is a relative word, I guess.
Yeah, good for him. But I mean, that's not. Let's face. Okay, he's not Bryce Young, but he's like Sam Darnold's a better player than him, and he's also. He's
likely to be on the move as well.
He's on the move. Well, yeah, because the Vikings have committed to their young draftee from last year, but the young quarterback. But it's interesting. The Steelers. Is it conceivable that they'll just go, you know what? We're not going to keep either of you, and we're just going to go the draft? It doesn't feel like a Pittsburgh Steelers thing to do, does it?
Nah.
I actually, you know what is conceivable? You know what I could see happening? Oh, how good would this be? Is if they let both Fields and Russell Wilson go, and then they take Darnold. I could see that happening. Because Darnold's the exact sort of player.
You know what's been gathering momentum over the last week, don't you?
What's that?
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, okay. Yeah. He's cooked, though, man. You've seen him. He's cooked. Yeah, but...
I know he's cooked. You know he's cooked. But he's gonna land at a club. I don't think he's gonna retire. He's gonna go for another payday. They're gonna have to literally get him off in a wheelchair before he retires, I reckon.
I thought he might go to the Vikings. I know they're committed to the young guy that they drafted last year, the young quarterback at Minnesota. But also, I reckon I just reckon the Vikings feel like they're because they've got a fantastic list, right? I reckon that they feel like they are one above average quarterback away from a Super Bowl, and I wouldn't argue that. Like if Darnold, I think, played really well this year, but I just don't know that he's above average. They've got such a good lineup that the fact is that most quarterbacks, if you're half competent, would have done what he did this year. Yeah, and do you run you take the flyer at Aaron Rodgers, maybe, winding back the clock. That's where I thought he might go. Plus, there's the whole Green Bay, Minnesota thing, their divisional rival that happened with Brett Favre.
There was that meme that came around. They followed the same path.
Yeah. So
both went to the Jets.
Yeah, both went to the Jets. Watch for that. But Pittsburgh, you're right. That would be a very Pittsburgh thing to do, to pick up
the one I reckon for Rodgers, which I reckon is probably more conceivable than Pittsburgh, and I know you don't like it, but I reckon the Raiders, because I reckon they're going to draft Sanders as their QB, and I reckon Rodgers sitting there. They don't have the number one pick, but every mock draft I've seen, he's not going to go number one.
Yeah, well, where is the Raiders pick?
6.
He won't be there at that point, unless they trade up. Maybe they trade up.
Every mock draft I've seen, he's going to Raiders at 6.
Yeah, I don't reckon that'll happen. But we'll see. Maybe.
Well, if that's where I reckon he'll end up, and he'll have Rodgers there to be the mentor.
Okay.
As well as Brady as the owner.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe. The Raiders. Yeah. The Raiders. What a mess. What a mess they. What a mess they are.
Yeah. They have to start from the ground up.
Yeah. They've got Max Crosby, and that's about it. They let Devontae Adams go. And I don't reckon he'll hang around the Jets. He'll probably be another one that ends up.
No, he's already looking.
So I wonder where
he's linked to the Ravens.
Ravens?
Yeah.
Really? Well,
to pair with Flowers and Bateman.
Yeah. Okay. I see the fit. I just don't know how they get that done. The Ravens. But
yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, that's the.
Yeah.
So the other QB on the move is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Who lost his Falcons gig to Michael Penix.
Jeez. I tell you what, the Falcons did him dirty there. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Like, Cousins, he's a well, when he was at his best, he's maybe just a slightly above average QB. But, you pay for a guy 4 years, mega contract. He's a 36-year-old, plausibly in his prime, although he'd come off the Achilles. And then you go up and trade up to get a QB like that. I don't know it's bad business.
I don't know if they've done him dirty, but just what I'm reading here, he still owns his contract and a no trade clause. He's still due $155 million on his contract over the next 3 years.
No, all right. So maybe he's not done dirty in that respect, but he expects to play, right? And
yeah. So Tennessee's the link at the moment.
Yeah,
which they've just got Will Levis.
That makes sense. Look, they need to get out of the Will Levis game, Levis game, because he is terrible. So that's interesting. But I think it's bad business on Atlanta's end, because if you're going to pay that much, like they're going to take a dead cap hit. They're not going to get nearly as much as what they could have. Or they wasted capital to get a guy who, let's face it, in the end they didn't really want. They wanted Penix before him. So odd. odd move. But clubs, teams do that from time to time. Probably the only other area I'd like to touch on with free agents is probably we talked about a little bit with wide receiver. The big one for me, there's a couple of big names there, but T. Higgins. Now Cincinnati are notoriously cheap, and if they were going to get a deal done with T. Higgins, it would have been done by now, I think. So they're gonna lose T. Higgins, and I don't get why you would do that. You got Burrow, you got Chase, and then you get T. Higgins. Like that could set you up for the next 5 years. Why?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest.
It's just it's just it's just saving coins when like for what? Like I know if you're an owner, it's your money and all the rest of it, but wouldn't you get more money by having a successful team? wouldn't that be be successful, then make more playoff games and get more money that way? Like, I don't know. Seems a bit silly to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yep. Yeah, sometimes the decisions made by the owners and the GMs I just don't really understand.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a method to their madness, but a lot of the time it leaves us fans scratching our heads.
Yeah.
Just what the fuck.
Well, let's face it, he's young still, so he's going to find a team. He'll get a monster contract somewhere, and I think he's earned it. But yeah, who and where that is, I've got absolutely no vision on that for him. He seems like the sort of guy that would go to Dallas. not him. Oh, sorry, Dallas seems like the sort of team that would chase him. With Jerry.
Yeah.
They just paid mega dollars for CD Lamb. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in a bit of a. Yeah, I don't know what's going to go on at Dallas. They could have gone a different path with the coaching, and they've gone in-house, which I think is a mistake.
Yeah.
I just. This just seems to me like who they wanted wasn't available, so they're just doing a gap year.
Bit like when the 49ers made Jim Tom Sula their coach. He lasted 1 year. He was terrible, and he might even be out of
one and done.
Yeah, one and done. Got his. But the thing is, they give him a 4-year deal, and then they get paid out for the next 4 years, and move on like it's nothing, So.
Yeah.
Look, it's interesting. I love NFL, as we all know, as you know, same as you. It's a bit of a shame that season's over. A bit of anticlimax with the Super Bowl, but we'll watch the race. I think moving forward, it'd be good if we can. We'll definitely make sure that we keep up with NFL news and do NFL specific pods. I reckon. And then we can roll into next year and hopefully we get to see our own teams start performing.
From my team's point of view, the Patriots just a bit of an improvement there. I just want them to have a decent off season and address some needs. I'm not expecting them to jump up into the playoffs next season, but just to make the right moves and give their sides, give May his O-line protection, someone to throw to, and defensive improvements. So,
all right, mate. Can you still hear me? I think we've lost. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Sorry, I had a short connection issue there. Okay, so awesome. I agree. Sometimes when you've got a team that's a bit in the dumps, you just look for you look for some improvement. I think if the Patriots can do what the Broncos did this year, that would be a pretty good start. Just give something, maybe sneak into the playoffs, but see that look for a foundation to build on for the next year. The Chiefs, I must admit, their loss, whilst surprising to me, gives me a bit of hope that maybe there might be some time in the future where we can actually compete. And take that spot in the in our AFC division.
Yep. One more thing I'll say about the Super Bowl is we spoke in the lead up to how good the Chiefs were at every single detail.
Yeah.
It seems like the script was flipped.
Yeah.
And Philly were across every little detail, both offensively and defensively, on that day. And it was a Chiefs-like performance.
It was, yeah. Look, a guy I listen to a lot in America, or used to. He's sort of not on Fox anymore, but a guy named JT the Brick. He had a good point. I didn't really think on it until a post he did yesterday. Was, can you remember a Super Bowl coach as good as Andy Reid get out-coached the way he did? He got smashed in every detail, and he is a legendary coach. I think he's better than Belichick. When it comes to offensive game plan and all the rest of it. So can you remember a time when a coach just got that smashed in the Super Bowl with the talent that he's got? And I agree with it. Now that he mentioned it, I think.
He had nothing for it. There was no adjustments through halftime. There was absolutely nothing. He had no answer.
It was out you go there, Paddy, and and the defensive coach too, Tony Spagnuolo. He got smashed as well, and they were raving about how he's the best defensive mind in the game, and he is, he's great, but he just got belted. So
I'll tell you what, the game ball should have been given to bloody Vic Fangio though.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, no, he had a cracker. He had an absolute cracker. It's a shame how bad he was at Denver.
Yeah, but I think he's one of those guys that's never going to be a head coach, and he's just going to be a career assistant now.
The Justin Longmuir of the NFL. Yeah. All right, mate. Shall we take a bit of a break and then we'll come back and talk some AFL and AFL fantasy?
Yep, no worries.